Hello?
Hello?
Who's this?
Oh, this is Mary.
Hey, Mary, how you doing?
Good. I'm new to Austin, and I was watching TV, and I was like, watching the show. Anyways, why? Okay, I have some friends who are atheists, and I kind of felt that way for a while, but why are you having a show on Easter about atheism?
We have a show every Sunday.
Oh, so you have a show every Sunday?
We're here every Sunday. This one just happens to be Easter.
And it happens to be Sunday because we all have Sunday off and we can come down and do the show. So it's just,
well, what led you to be an atheist then?
that's a fine question.
You want to go?
Well, one thing you might want to do is take a look at our website. We have a lot of testimonials, which is basically a lot of different people's stories about how they came to atheism. And one thing you'll find when you start reading all these is everybody has a different path. Some people come from a very religious background. They really embrace religion, and then they learn more and more about it. Often that's what happens is they learn enough that they realize that it doesn't make sense anymore. I happen to be someone who wasn't really indoctrinated in religion and was sort of neutral to religion for a long time. But through a lot of personal experiences with dealing with Christians, I began to wonder, why are these sort of good-hearted, genuinely nice people doing these really awful things in
You
many
don't
cases?
do awful things too, though?
Well,
Sure.
And that actually comes up a lot. Here lately there have been a lot of claims, especially from the creationist and intelligent design folks, that atheism or evolution leads to atheism, leads to Nazism and atrocities and the things committed at the hands of Stalin. The difference the problem is that atheism doesn't have any dogma or tenets. There's no way to get from a lack of belief in a God to justifying any action, good or bad. One of the common quotes, which came up when Dawkins was here as well, is that without religion, good people do good things and bad people do bad things, and both are likely to do a little of each. In order to get somebody, a good person, to do a truly evil thing, you need religion. Now, and I'm not blaming all religion or religion as a concept or anything else. The problem here is not a particular belief. It's dogmatism and authority.
Well,
There's
can
nothing
you
in
be
it.
dogmatic about being an atheist, though?
No, I'm not.
It's a skeptical position, so it's basically saying until you guys or somebody presents us with some decent evidence for why we should believe these things, we're going to take a very conservative standpoint and say, we don't believe this, and we're not going to base any life decisions on these claims because we just don't believe them.
And I actually
Well,
used.
I'm just going to say that, I respect that. I respect your position. I believe in God. That's fine. But I think that my belief in God has shown that, to have some faith in Him.
Well, what makes you believe in? Why do you believe in a God?
Because I don't know. I feel like it's just that whole faith thing. It's not necessarily justifiable. It's not like a mathematical equation. I can sit down and go,
Okay.
well, this is.
Can I make a
X, Y,
guess?
Z.
Oh.
What?
Can I make a guess? I'll bet that you grew up in a family that took you to church and inculcated this belief in you before you were really of an old enough age that you could reason these things out yourself.
Well, this is true. My mother did convert to Catholicism, but there was a point in time, and I still do question my faith in how valid it is. I think it's a very important thing.
Good. I think that's admirable.
That's exactly what I ended up doing.
Yeah, you asked about our histories. Matt has a much more interesting history.
I don't know. It's more interesting. My parents were Southern Baptists. We grew up. I was active in church ministries, did outreach stuff, went to camps, witnessed to people, everything else. And then there was a period of time where I was in the Navy where I still believed, but I wasn't active. I didn't go to church often or pray, but it was still a belief. Then later on in life, actually after I was 30, I had some time that I set aside, and I decided, I've done these other jobs. I think perhaps God had wanted me to preach. So what I'm going to do is, hit my knees, pray, do some studying, with the whole purpose of ending up being a minister. And what I found instead was, after a lot of studying over the course of a year and a half or so, maybe two, I got to a point where I clearly could no longer call myself a Christian. And so for a brief time, I probably adopted some kind of nonsensical agnostic type label. And it wasn't long after that, though, that investigating other religions and the fundamental questions about whether or not a God exists, that I just said, I have to acknowledge that I'm an atheist.
So I have a question. Like, don't you find it interesting how a lot of the religions have similar stories? Like, I mean, maybe not you don't believe in a specific God, but don't you think they're, like, I mean, I don't know. I just think it's kind of, it's a pretty hard stance to say you don't believe in anything.
I didn't say I don't believe in anything. I said I don't believe in a God.
Okay.
And the reason is, and when I asked earlier why you believed in God, and your answer is kind of this nondescript, it's a faith thing. Here's my position, really. I care about whether or not what I believe is true. I want to believe as many true things and as few false things as possible. In your life, outside of this one question of the existence of God and the religion that you accept, is there anything else that you apply such loose, faith-based justifications for? I mean, do you just run around believing things just because it feels good to believe them?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know. Like, originally I was going to school for philosophy, so I do like to question things.
I love to question things. That question, and by the way, I'm open to having my mind changed. It's been changed before, but right now the only things that are going to change my mind are evidence and reasoned argument, appeals to emotion or faith. As a matter of fact, I have kind of formed a new position that faith actually doesn't exist at all. Faith is, in fact, the excuse people give when they're either unable or unwilling to give the real justification for their belief. And because I believe that beliefs aren't anything you can choose, they're not subject to the will. Belief is a state of mind where you are convinced and you accept that a proposition is true. And we're pretty good at not understanding necessarily what all of our reasons are because of the way our brain works. We tend to accept things more on a gut feeling.
Well, we can't sit and reason through every last decision that we make. Right?
You never get anywhere.
We make a lot of decisions on instinct, and we make a lot of decisions based on belief systems or stereotypes of situations or whatever. I guess the thing that concerns us is when you have a lot of people behaving based on incorrect beliefs, that can be a source of harm. And it's usually a source of harm to the people who are not believers, because those folks tend to believe things that are sort of self-promoting. So you do get persecution of people like atheists, and you do get suppression of science, which harms people, and these sorts of things. So faith to us is kind of a dirty word. We don't like it. We think it's a bad thing. It's not a virtue at all.
Oh, well, I'll continue to respect you if you respect me.
I respect you, but I may not respect your beliefs.
Yeah.
And we can maybe have a dialogue about why that's true.
Clearly, I don't respect your beliefs, but I respect your right to hold them. Because the one thing that we've mentioned many times on the show is that true religious freedom, which I believe is clearly guaranteed by the First Amendment and the relevant law around that, applies to everybody. The matters of conscience are not something you can dictate. There's no way you could have thought crime legislation that has any teeth at all. And the only way that this can be true is if everybody is allowed to hold beliefs and the government remains neutral with regard to all of them, which means no preferential treatment for any religion. I'm opposed to the tax-free status of churches, by the way. But you're allowed to believe it. You're allowed to go out in public and tell people about it, proselytize, share your beliefs, congregate with others, have demonstrations based on your beliefs. All of that just keep the government out of it, and make sure that you're not. And I'm not speaking to you specifically, but make sure that each religion is not in a position where they are dictating what other people can and can't do based on their own precepts.
My friend and I got in an argument about this a while ago. Like, I guess the Boy Scouts, I don't know if they get government money or not, but if they do...
They do.
Okay, well, if they do, and if they don't allow gay people in, then I think that's wrong because it's government subsidized. But if
See,
it's not government
you're in agreement with us
subsidized,
there.
what?
You're definitely in agreement with us there. We actually talked about that a couple shows ago.
If it's government, it's different.
Yeah, we're real big on church-state separation, and we're actually kind of shocked that more religions aren't more excited about it too.
See, I support the Boy Scouts' right to be as bigoted as they want to be, just like I'd support the KKK's right to be as bigoted as they want to be. The difference is, do they get government funding?
Which ultimately is our funding.
Yeah. It means my tax dollars are going to support an organization. And by the way, I was a Cub Scout, and I'm not opposed to everything that Scouting does. Scouting didn't used to be bad. This is a new change when the Mormons took over that put them in a position where they don't allow atheists or homosexuals to be members or troop leaders. Okay, that's fine. They're a private organization. They can discriminate as much as they want. But they don't get to use my tax dollars to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I like to say the state religion won't be your religion, right?
Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing for the separation of church and state. Making sure the government remains neutral is okay. If we start, basically we put the government in a position, partly because of this tax status, to go through and say yes, that's a religion, no, that's not a religion. They did it. I mean, Scientology fought this battle, and the government finally says yes, you're a religion, so now they get their tax-free status. But what that does is it means the government is now endorsing religions.
But at the same token, I have a question. Like, okay, you're on public access, right? Mm-hmm. So doesn't the public and somehow doesn't their money go towards the show? Like, how does that work? Like, I don't really understand.
Some of the money is government money. Some of it is funded by corporations like Time Warner and other cable companies like that.
Well, so would you be like opposed to having like, I don't know, a religious show like right after your show?
No, actually there's an entire public access channel that's almost all religion, all nonstop. Okay. The only requirement is that the public access channels, be completely neutral, that they not come in and censor any ideas. If you come on and you meet the qualifications for being a producer, you go through the training course, you should be able to get a show expressing any idea you want, no matter how crazy it is. And I have no problem at all with there is a religious show, or was, that comes on directly after this. I have no problem with them. They're exercising the same freedoms I am, and as long as we're both allowed to, and one isn't being endorsed over another, it's not a problem. There's twice a year where I get mad about this, and that's when they preempt our show to show the Mormon conference. They're not local in Austin. They're not on public access. Right. They're using this as a form of advertising.
Right. The official policy is that there's preference for locally produced live shows, and here they are, preempting locally produced live shows for something that's nationally produced and not live. So
but no, I have to, and I would even if I didn't have to, support everybody's religious freedom. Anything else?
Nope, I don't know. I just thought it would be interesting to call.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you calling.
It was a great call. Thanks a lot. As a reminder to you and anybody else, we're going to El Arroyo after the show's over. We're on for another 30 minutes or so, and we'll be down there at around 5 o'clock till 7-ish. It's on 5th Street, the address on the screen. You're all welcome to come down and join us, any atheist or atheist-friendly person. Yeah. Which, it doesn't bother me at all that you believe. You're obviously, not hostile to atheists, so you're welcome. And I we love having conversations about all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm.